Hi everyone. My name is Tonka and I'm very sorry I can't be with you all today in the class, but I really wanted to share my insights and my part of the presentations we did with my group. And we are going to talk about the sleep science and wearables and tech. So welcome everyone, make yourself comfortable, and I hope you will learn more about sleep and maybe also what to do and what not to do if you want to have better and tight sleep. So I'm going to skip over and I'm going to go to my part. So I'm going to start at slide 3 to discuss why sleep matters. So this slide addresses the very important question why sleep matters. Some of you may have asked it before, and then when you wake up next morning why it matters because you are very tired and you don't feel like doing anything. So at first it's very important to mention that the humans evolved to sleep between 6.5 to 7.5 hours uh, per day. And this was mentioned in our book about sleep, Exercise by Lieberman. And it was said that the standard 8 hours we usually have and we are considered to have enough sleep when we sleep for 8 hours is just something that people made up and is uh, kind of like maybe biased information because when you look at the evolution from the past, it's not 8, but it's between 6.5 and 7.5. So the key takeaway is from this slide is that the recovery depends on the depth and not just the total duration of sleep. Sleep needs to be efficient to repair muscles, consolidate learning, and clear brain metabolites. Sleep is very important and vital for different physiological systems such as metabolism, where sleep lowers your nighttime energy use and help regulate the hormones that control glucose levels and appetite. Then it's also important for memory and learning. In REM sleep, we uh, we strengthen the long-term memory storage, creativity, and problem-solving skills. Sleep is also important for immune function, where REM sleep promotes immune repair, and poor sleep is characterized by weakening your body's defense, making you more susceptible to illness, maybe more sluggish, and also to hormonal regulation, where circadian rhythm is the master clock that controls key hormones like cortisol for wakefulness and melatonin for sleep. We are going to talk a little bit more about REM sleep, and also circadian rhythm and other things. I'm going to skip to slide 6, and we are going to talk about sleep cycles and the restorative process of the sleep. So this is the core physiological process of sleep, where humans typically cycle through 4 to 5 sleep cycles per night, with each cycle lasting about 90 minutes. Each cycle alternates between NREM, which stands for non-rapid eye movement, and REM, rapid eye movement sleep. So these are why we say REM and REM. WHOOP helps us to track the strain to sleep relationship, which shows how higher daytime strain, like what we do during the day when we are awake, correlates with greater demands for restorative sleep. And it stages specifically the slow wave sleep, also SWS, and REM sleep. So let's first take a look at the non-rapid eye movement sleep, which includes the deep sleep or also the slow wave sleep. This is also called the restorative stage for our body, where very important activities in our physiology are the repair and growth, where muscles repair and tissue growth occur. The immune system is strengthened here, and growth hormone itself is at its production peak. your heart rate variability, HRV, raises as the parasympathetic nervous system dominates here. The glymphatic system works to clear metabolic waste from the brain, and inadequate SWS directly lead to sleep debt, which increases the fatigue and cognitive lapses. As also it was mentioned in the book Exercise by Lieberman, for every 1 hour of awake activity, you need approximately 50 minutes more of deeper sleep to not be in the sleep debt. So another one is the rapid eye movement sleep, REM sleep, and this is a stage for your brain to recover. The brain here is highly active, similar to when you are awake, which is why we have so vivid and emotional dreams in this phase. REM is crucial for strengthening memory, consolidating learning. It is also key for creativity and emotional regulation by processing emotion and stress from the day. Lieberman uh, mentioned in the book that the REM may have evolved as a survival strategy, allowing our brain to rehearse different challenges as a reason why we maybe dream. So this is for this slide. Then we are going to go to slide 11 to talk about recovery by WHOOP. So these slides talk about recovery by WHOOP, which is one single metric that integrates three key physiological measures by WHOOP. First is the heart rate variability, then resting heart rate, and then sleep performance. The goal of this one score is to tell us how ready we are and our body is uh, for our strain and our activity during the day. So HRV reflects our parasympathetic activity, or we can also say rest and digest. Higher HRV indicates a stronger capacity for recovery and resilience. Lieberman in the book said that the recovery depends on the parasympathetic activation after the stress of a workout or a day. Uh, RHR, resting heart rate, is very simple, and we can say that the lower the number is, the more efficient our cardiovascular recovery and general readiness is. When we have higher or elevated resting heart rate, it can be sign that our body is still under some stress, even after a night of sleep or during the sleep, which is not very good for our recovery again. And then the last metric is the recovery itself, and it's a score where high percentage means that your body is ready for high strain, and a low percentage signals that you should prioritize more rest and sleep to balance out what you do during the day and how much and how you sleep. The recovery system also tracks the sleep depth, which is the difference between your sleep need and the actual sleep you got during the night. The bigger the sleep depth, uh, the lower HRV and higher resting heart rate significantly reduces your recovery score. Okay, the next slide we are going to go to sleep cycles and the restorative process. Okay, so let's talk about my own data. So as everyone in our group, I have also been wearing the WHOOP for 1 month for 30 days. And I was an active user. I was like I'm on the golf team, I'm an athlete. We have workouts, we have practice, class. I go to work. So it was interesting for me to see my data, the sleep, how much I recovered or how much my strain was. Every day when I saw the green recovery, I was like, okay, that's good. And then when I saw like orange or red, I was like, this is not good. And it was interesting. At first, usually in the morning when I woke up, it couldn't really reflect how I felt right after I woke up, the recovery when I saw it on my phone. But then during the day, when my recovery wasn't green, I could really see that my my sleep, like I wasn't recovered enough to do everything I needed. If I went to class, for example, at night, I felt very, very fatigued, very exhausted at the end of the day. But generally, I would say that using the Whoop helped me to understand my sleep needs after long days of golf, workouts, class, and everything. Uh, and yes, the days I didn't get enough sleep, my sleep debt was increasing, and I felt the fatigue from the day. And there were also some other data, not just sleep. I was trying to be focused, but it was it was very interesting. I personally really enjoyed wearing the Whoop. For me, I just probably didn't like just wearing it on my wrist overall because also I got a very bad tan after a month. But when you see how much data it's going to give you, if I, for example, was able to talk about this data with my athletic trainer or maybe our coach to modify our practice or my schedule and my training based on the Whoop, I think it would be great. But as long as I'm just going to be using the Whoop and not changing anything in my life, I don't really think it makes any more sense to be wearing it because it's interesting to see. But sometimes when I see some things and I found some rhythm, oh, if I change this, it may help my sleep, for example. And I'm not going to change it because I'm not able because of our practice. It doesn't really make any sense because it also just like irritates me a little bit that I know there are things I can change that will help my performance probably, but I can't. But yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit more about this. But for me, uh I really enjoy the Whoop, and here you can see the my graphs of the sleep performance, sleep consistency, uh, REM sleep, the times when I usually woke up and I went to bed, and the high sleep stress zone on the first picture. And I thought sometimes that my sleep is not good before I started using the Whoop. But overall, when I look at my sleep and how tired I usually am, I think my my sleep is pretty decent. Okay, now let's jump a little bit ahead again. So we found three articles, and the second article uh, is by De Zambotti and others, and its name is a validation study of the Whoop strap against polysomnography to assess sleep. So polysomnography is like a gold standard in measuring the sleep, but it's like a clinical setting, and Whoop is just user friendly. Everybody can use it. It's not, you don't need professionals. You can use it in your everyday life, anyone, and you can look at your phone. So we were very interesting how these two very different accessibilities are compared. So uh, to evaluate the accuracy of the Whoop, we reviewed several studies, and this article too compared 12 individuals in the Whoop using and the polysomnography. The strength of this study is that Whoop is accurate at telling you if you are asleep or awake, which is very important to note. And the overall total sleep time measure is very close to the polysomnography in the WHOOP. However, there are some limitations that appeared when the study was looking at the individual sleep stages. The WHOOP usually overestimated the total sleep time by about 8 minutes, something a little bit more about 8 minutes. And the biggest issue the study noted was that the four, four stage similarity were lower, especially for SWS and REM sleep, in the 60 to 70% range. Also, the WHOOP struggled to distinguish between the light sleep and being awake. So sometimes uh, when people were awake, it was signaling like they are still in light sleep or reversed. And the implication here is that WHOOP is very useful for tracking the overall sleep quality and general wake periods in the sleep, but it is not great for being very specific and giving us some the finest strategies and information about deep sleep and REM sleep. The next article is by Lang et al. Called A Performance Validation of 6 Commercial Wrist-Worn Wearable Sleep Tracking Devices for Sleep Stage Scoring Compared to Polysomnography. So, this study was giving us a little bit maybe more realistic comparison of WHOOP against other popular wearables, which include the Fitbit, Garmin, Apple Watch, using one night in the lab for 62 adults. It was just one night. So we can see already something we can work on for the further studies. But the findings here were pretty consistent across most of the devices. They were highly sensitive for detecting sleep and being awake. In this is called a two-stage model. If you are either asleep or you are awake. However, if the device was going to be more specific and was detecting the ability to uh, identify the awake periods, this was much lower. The devices often missed some time when individual was being awake, but it was very quiet, and it was similar as the WHOOP. It assumed that the person is in a light sleep, not being awake. And when we the study focused also on the specific sleep stages, uh, the differences here in the SWS and REM sleep were better than in the previous studies, but they were still not perfect. There are still a lot of things the study has to focus on. And the study's primary implication is that the devices are generally, say, decent at identifying overall sleep patterns, like good or bad, but you shouldn't treat any specific stages, breakdowns like being awake or having a light sleep with these devices if you want to make some changes. So if you are just trying to see, am I sleeping maybe enough? How many hours of sleep am I getting? It's pretty accurate. But if you are trying to see how much time you spend in each stage of sleep, if you have enough REM sleep or if you have enough deep sleep or these kind of things, maybe if you suffer from some health issues and health conditions, the devices are generally not considered being the the best because there are other strategies we can use that are better. Okay, let's skip a little bit forward again and let's come back to my own evaluation. So I'm giving the WHOOP 4.5 out of 5 stars rating. For me, the pros were the motivation for me to live my life being active, get to go to bed early to sleep, and to also track what I was doing during the day. It increases the self-awareness because when you look at the data, it really made me think about, okay, I my sleep that is rising, but I still got maybe enough hours. Like, what were the stressors if my sleep stress was increased during the night, or what was I doing the day before? Or maybe what was my pattern in activities during the past 3 days, since I learned as being athlete the energy is not something that is there but is more fluid. And it also gave me a lot of health insights. For example, I was towards the end of wearing the whoop, I got sick, and I don't know if I had COVID or what, but I could really see that whoop was telling me your resting heart rate is higher, your you I don't know, it was some other metrics, and it was telling me you are either very stressed, or you are doing way too much workout, or there is some you are suffering from some illness. And I truly was sick, so I think Whoop is also a great tool if you are maybe trying to, if you are going through something and you don't know what it is, it may give you some ideas and it notices the pattern. So I believe if, like, especially for athletes, uh if you are in your like training team, you're maybe trainer, doctor, strength coaches and sport coaches, if they would really collaborate and maybe walk you through the whoop and maybe discuss different uh, different days, your sleep, your recovery and your strain. And if they were focused on making the program based on what they see in the Whoop and your own data, not just something very general for 100 people, for example, I think then it's great. I I think if you have a higher sleep depth and your recovery wasn't enough, there are still, when you are an athlete, there are still things you can train, you can focus on, you can work on during the day. But maybe if you originally was scheduled to do some heavy conditioning, maybe you shouldn't do it that day, because it's going to, like, we learn in the presentation early on that in not enough sleep uh, lowers your immune system and like body self-protection, brain metabolite and everything. So maybe pushing that heavy conditioning days to another day would be better if you have better sleep. But again, it's kind of hard, because when you have some plan, you coaches usually wanted to stick to it. But if you really wanted to do probably what is the best for the athlete, I think this is the way to go. And a con for the Whoop is it is expensive, but on the other hand, when you consider how much other things are, maybe athletes or people use for their health and tracking, and I don't know, some supplements, I don't honestly think it's that bad if you are going to pay like $300 for all year. I think other subscriptions are much worse, but yes, it is expensive if you are not going to use it. If you are going to use it, I think it's worth it then. But me personally, I didn't enjoy wearing it on my wrist that much. I was thinking about wearing it on the ankle, and then my friends were making fun that you can't wear it because it will look funny. It will look like you just escaped from a jail or something. But I know that some people wear it here on your arm, on your bicep. So maybe that is also a solution. And I think Whoop is great for motivation, and if you are trying to be more active and to see how much you sleep and you recover, the Whoop is great. But also, as we learned in our studies previously, also like Apple Watch or Garmin or other things people usually use for tracking their workouts seem to be pretty solid. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoy my part and also everybody else. I'm sorry I can't be there with you all tonight. But after you come to after the class, please go home, and if you to have a nice tight sleep, please follow these little directions. So, if you want to have a nice sleep, limit the blue light at night, reduce the screen time, or use night mode on your phone at least 1 to 2 hours before you go to bed, so melatonin can form and help you to fall asleep. Keep consistent sleep schedule. Go to bed and wake up at similar times every day to stabilize your cardiac rhythms. Exercise earlier in the day. This will boost sleep quality and uh, it will make you feel better. Please avoid late night heavy workouts. I know some people like it, but if you are the morning workout person, it's better for your sleep. Uh, uh, watch your stimulants. Don't drink caffeine at least 6 hours before bed. Avoid alcohol and other maybe matcha, maybe even some kind of tea that may have caffeine to help you again fall asleep and don't force your body to be awake. Optimize environment, sleep in cool, dark rooms. I saw a study last week that 65 degrees is the best temperature for you to sleep. I think I like 67. I think 65 is a little bit too cold, but that's the science. I didn't cite this article here because I just saw it somewhere on Instagram. But I kind of understand. But yes, the colder the room, the better for your sleep. Uh, use your wearable smartly if you decide to wear the Whoop after our class or sometime in the future. The transit tracks the sleep debt, HRV, resting heart rate, and also other parameters outside of sleep are great. Uh, but please don't stress over it. Uh, it's just sometimes one night, maybe 1 week. Use it smartly. If you don't trust it, maybe ask some specialists that maybe your doctor or someone who is more skilled in the sphere that you have this observation with your Whoop or your Apple Watch if they can look at you and um, to help with the sleep. It's also good to have a wind down routine, for example, like reading, stretching, breathing, right before you go to sleep because it shifts your body away from the day to bedtime and prepares your body to for the recovery. And also something I'm really trying to implement in my life is don't study in your bed. Don't if you want to go to the bed and go to sleep. If you want to just lay down and relax and watch TV or scroll on your computer or do online shopping, lay down on the couch or buy another bed. But if you have your bed where you are sleeping, try to keep it just for sleep. So try at least one or two maybe tonight, and hopefully it will help you with the sleep. Here are our resources, and I hope you'll have a great rest of the class. See you next week. Bye.